This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. I want to begin this half hour in the Middle East. President Donald Trump warns Iran if they don't negotiate, things will go very bad. As Chris Mitchell reports from Jerusalem, Trump's warning is the latest signal that military action by Israel and the U.S. may be the next major event in the Middle East.
Trump's warning came in an interview with NBC News over the weekend. He said, if the Iranians don't make a deal, there will be bombs, and they will be bombs like they've never seen before. Iran rejected Trump's recent offer of direct negotiations and left the door open to indirect talks. The UN agency overseeing Iran's nuclear program says the regime has sped up its uranium enrichment and now has enough that's just one step away from creating 6 nuclear bombs. In the meantime, the U.S. is noticeably building an armada of B-2 and B-52 bombers in the Indian Ocean at the joint U.S.-UK base of Diego Garcia.
Keep in mind, the B-2 bomber was essentially built specifically to bomb the nuclear facilities in Iran. They have the capability of lifting what they call a massive ordnance penetrator, the largest bunker buster bomb the United States possesses.
CBN News military analyst Chuck Holton says President Trump's statements are unprecedented.
The real question is, President Trump has said that if Iran does not come to the negotiating table within 2 months, that there will be military strikes. He said that repeatedly, not even equivocating at all. That there will be military strikes on Iran. That's something the United States has not done before. So this would be pretty historic.
Iran announced they would attack the base if the U.S. takes military action against Iran. On Sunday, Iran's supreme leader called for the destruction of Israel.
It's a religious, moral, and human duty for everyone to work toward removing this wicked, criminal entity from the region.
In Jerusalem, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu sent a message to 3 major terrorist enemies.
Regarding
Hamas in Gaza, the military pressure works. Regarding Hezbollah in Lebanon, there is very firm enforcement, very firm, without compromise. Regarding the Houthis, I greatly appreciate the action of the United States, our ally. They're handling them very strongly.
And Chris Mitchell joins us now with more. So, Chris, what are the challenges of an attack on Iran's nuclear facilities?
Well, first of all, they're buried so deep underground, Ephraim, and that's why the B-2 bombers are so important. The ones that Chuck mentioned in our report, they were 30,000-pound bombs. They're about 20 feet long, 3 feet wide. They can go through about 200 feet of rock. And the other challenges is that the nuclear facilities of Iran are spread throughout the country. And why is that? They know what happened in 1981 and 2007. In 1981, Israel destroyed, it was the Iraqi nuclear reactor at Osirak. And then in 2007, Israel destroyed the Syrian nuclear reactor. And so that's why they have spread all their nuclear facilities throughout the country. So that combination of being spread throughout the country and then being buried underground are 2 major challenges for any attack by the U.S. and or Israel. The good news for Israel and the U.S. is that last year, Israel destroyed much of Iran's air defenses, and also they've destroyed much of Syrian air defenses last year. So they won't have the same kind of air defenses that you would have expected just about a year ago. Right now, we're looking at a 2-month deadline expiring from President Trump that could expire within weeks. And as we said in our report, the IAEA says that Iran is really closer to military-grade uranium, and it could have a bomb, or at least enough nuclear material for a bomb within days. So, Ephraim, the race is on right now in the Middle East.
Indeed it is. What kind of retaliation could Iran take if Israel and the U.S. attack?
Well, ballistic missiles, they just released a video of an underground missile city. It's quite a very stark underground missile city. It's huge. But the question is, Ephraim, they've already attacked Israel twice with ballistic missiles. And actually, both of those attacks against Israel were spectacular failures. They say they're going to hit Diego Garcia if the U.S. attacks. And that may be too far away for Iran's ballistic missiles. Also, it seems like the U.S. is moving anti-missile systems into the area. The danger, and we talked about this with our interview with Chuck Holton earlier today, the real danger may not be the ballistic missiles, but it could be terror attacks in the U.S. It's known that there are sleeper cells that Iran has placed within the U.S. They could alert those, and there could be that could be a part of the danger. The other danger could be is cyber warfare to U.S. infrastructure. So those are all part of what may happen if there is a joint U.S.-Israeli attack against Iran's nuclear facilities. Ephraim, something that we've been talking about, reporting about literally for almost 20 years now.
Shifting gears to something else you've been covering, the anti-protest inside Gaza. What's happening there now?
Well, it seems like tragically it's a sign that Hamas is starting to crack down on those last week protests. The terror group apparently has tortured and killed a 22-year-old, Odai Nasser Saadid. And they also announced the execution of 6 that were accused of collaboration with Israel. And this is tragically just Hamas's tactics, brutal suppression against any sort of repression, any sort of, protest against Hamas. There's torture, there's intimidation, and all these are done, Ephraim, just to keep the population in control. Sometimes they're not going out in these protests afraid that the IDF will target them, but this is a sign that these protests may be quenched for right now.
All right, our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief, Chris Mitchell, thank you for your insights. As always, we look forward to seeing you again in the days ahead. In other news at this hour, the death toll from the powerful earthquake that struck Southeast Asia has risen to more than 1,700. More bodies have been pulled now from that rubble, but the death toll is expected to go even higher as that continues. Dale Hurd is following this story for us.
Rescue crews in Myanmar used jackhammers and shovels to find any survivors amid the devastation from Friday's powerful 7.7 magnitude earthquake. Many citizens resorted to digging through the debris by hand, trying to locate anyone still trapped. This woman and her son were rescued from the wreckage of a hotel. At this site, one official said they had detected possible signs of life under the rubble.
A second ago, we actually found one of the signals. And this is why we're trying to cooperate together so that we concentrate on the tactical team.
Rescue efforts have been hampered by buckled roads, downed bridges, and strong aftershocks, including a 5.1 magnitude aftershock Sunday afternoon. The UN is warning of a shortage of medical supplies, especially since the quake hit in the middle of Myanmar's ongoing civil war. There are long lines of victims in need. 600 miles away from the quake's epicenter in the capital of Bangkok, video captured this apartment bridge as it broke apart, with rooftop pools turned into waterfalls. The skyscraper, still under construction, collapsed as residents ran. More bodies were pulled from the rubble on Sunday as worried family members wait for word on their loved ones. This photo from Operation Blessing's Bangkok office showed a large crack running down the wall. Staff members scrambled under desks and prayed aloud as their building shook. Eventually, everyone made it out of the building unhurt. The Nation of Israel dispatched a team of experts from the IDF and Israeli Ministry of Defense to Bangkok. The team is equipped with state-of-the-art search and rescue equipment. There is extra urgency because the 72-hour window after the quake, the best chance for finding trapped survivors alive beneath, has begun to close. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Here at home in the U.S., thousands are without power due to severe weather over the weekend in several areas, including the Midwest. Freezing rain and storms brought down trees and power lines with ice accumulations ranging from a half an inch to nearly a whole inch in some areas. Churches and schools with electricity have turned into warming centers for those affected by that storm. Coming up, the Trump administration lists several Latin American drug cartels as terrorist organizations, but see how one group left off the list is causing a war zone in Colombia. Stay with us. You're watching CBN NewsWatch. America has designated 8 Latin American drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. Left off that list, however, is Colombia's FARC, a group that's turned the country into a war zone. Chuck Holton reports now from Cúcuta, Colombia.
It's a conflict most Americans know nothing about. Bombings, shootings, and clashes between guerrilla groups have turned Colombia into a battleground. The violence has left thousands homeless. Juan Galan's father was assassinated while running for office in the 1980s. Now he's entered politics, calling for a tougher stance on the cartels.
The current president, Gustavo Petro, set up a policy which is called total peace. And it's trying to build peace accords with every criminal organization in Colombia that mainly are supported by narcotraffic, the cocaine traffic. Also, with the armed forces having debilitated their capacities.
These guerrilla groups control Colombia's cocaine trade, which supplies the U.S. drug market. Now that the Trump administration has cut off aid, Colombia's government is struggling to stop them. For years, the U.S. provided Black Hawk helicopters to help combat drug trafficking. And today, most sit idle. The freeze on U.S. aid has left the country's security forces without air support to fight these groups.
So a major war has erupted, leading to 26,000 people being displaced to our city. The fighting is still ongoing, and the National Army is trying to regain control of the area, but so far, without success.
About a third of all of the overdose deaths in the United States come from cocaine, not fentanyl, and the vast majority of the cocaine comes from here in Colombia. Now, that's controlled by one of two organizations, the FARC or the ELN, and those two organizations are being facilitated by the Venezuelan government right across the border here from me here in Cúcuta. The Trump administration has designated 8 cartels across Latin America as foreign terrorist organizations, but what the people here who are being pushed out of their homes are saying is that the Trump administration needs to focus more on the government of Nicolas Maduro.
There were bombs, gunfire, destruction everywhere. We had to leave because of the fighting between the FARC and ELN. The people with guns control everything, and we who work the land have to flee to survive.
This pile of rubble behind me is all that's left of a police station, if you can believe that. Just a couple nights ago, a car bomb went off right where I'm standing and leveled the entire building. Fortunately, it was late at night and nobody was inside. But this is the kind of violence we're seeing in this area, and this is the reason why people are fleeing their homes. Despite the Trump administration's cartel crackdown, many in Colombia question why the Biden administration removed the FARC from the terror list in 2021, especially as it continues to dominate the drug trade.
We need helicopters, and we need the cooperation and intelligence also, which is crucial. And now that President Trump has declared terrorists the narco-traffickers, total peace policy is going to fail. But with this decision of Trump, it has already an additional blow.
I think the most important thing is to have God's guidance in all of this. Every morning, we put our work in God's hands, and I believe that's why things have gone well so far.
While Colombia faces its worst security crisis in years, the U.S. terror designation of drug cartels may be just the first step. Until these groups are fully crushed, the crisis and the drugs will continue to spread. From Cúcuta, Colombia, I'm Chuck Holton for CBN News.
Still ahead, taking a chainsaw to the federal government. Elon Musk and Doge are cutting waste, firing workers, and slashing programs, they say. Now comes the question, is it constitutional? We're going to bring you inside this brewing legal debate. Stay with us. You're watching CBN NewsWatch. Welcome back to CBN NewsWatch. A federal judge has ruled the Department of Government Efficiency may have violated the Constitution when it shut down the U.S. Agency for International Development. The ruling comes as critics charge that DOGE itself is unconstitutional. CBN's chief political analyst, David Brody, explains.
These first 2 months of President Trump's second term have been filled with executive orders and perhaps none more controversial than the one creating DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency.
This is the chainsaw for bureaucracy. Chainsaw!
It's been clear from the get-go that President Trump has tasked Elon Musk and his DOGE team to go big when it comes to cutting waste in the federal bureaucracy. What's not so clear is whether the DOGE methods and results are constitutional.
This is a constitutional crisis. It's the most serious assault on our Constitution in the history of this country.
Much of the legal wrangling centers on Elon Musk. Is he simply an advisor to the president, or does he have true authority to make decisions and use that chainsaw? Jenna Ellis is with the American Family Association.
This is an issue, I think, that is very political at the outset, but when it gets to the court, it should be purely legal, and that is going to turn on how much actual authority Elon Musk has, or is he only in an advisory role?
If Musk has been granted that decision-making power, then DOGE may run afoul of the Constitution's Appointments Clause, which states that when a president wants to delegate authority, such as for a cabinet secretary, that person must be confirmed by the Senate.
The problem with DOGE is it seems to purport, according to Musk and the president, to be up to a much bigger project about restructuring the government, eliminating agencies, feeding them into the wood chipper, as Elon Musk has said. And if that is what it's doing, it runs into significant constitutional problems.
So, is DOGE solely an advisory group, or is it more than that? Constitutional lawyer Chrisanne Hall is chief counsel for Liberty First Legal.
I think a great deal of the confusion comes from the name, because it's called the Department of. But it is not actually a department. Departments are limited by the Constitution, and they must be created by Congress.
I have created the brand new Department of Government Efficiency. DOGE.
The question then becomes, how is this informal advisory committee operating? Is it actually executing authority? Is it making decisions outside the presidential pen? If that's the case, then the courts are going to have to side with the Constitution that this is now operating like a department and not an informal advisory committee, and it's exceeding its authority.
Who's actually signing off on all of this, and what is the chain of command? Aren't those unanswered questions that need to get answered?
Well, they absolutely must get answered.
The White House sees this as all legally kosher, and that critics, including the media, need a history lesson.
Many people in this room who have used this talking point that Elon is not elected fail to understand how government works. So I'm glad for the opportunity for a brief civics lesson. The Constitution, Article 2, has a clause known as the vesting clause, and it says the executive power shall be vested in a president, singular. The whole will of democracy is imbued into the elected president. That president then appoints staff to then impose that democratic will onto the government.
Constitutional critics, however, still argue the White House can't even create DOGE without congressional approval. The administration labels DOGE as temporary and the reorganization of an already existing unit within the executive branch called the United States Digital Service. President Obama created it a decade ago to provide tech improvements to websites of federal agencies. Under the DOGE umbrella, however, the unit's mission is different and more expansive. In interviews, Musk often implies his team has authority.
One of the biggest functions of the DOGE team is just making sure that the presidential executive orders are actually carried out.
While on other occasions, he sounds like an advisor.
What we do is in consultation with the cabinet secretaries and with their departments.
As for President Trump's view, he wants cabinet secretaries to make the cuts, but there's a string attached.
Elon and the group are going to be watching them, and if they can cut, it's better. And if they don't cut, then Elon will do the cutting.
That kind of off-the-cuff presidential language could be problematic in court.
He's not a very specific communicator, and he enjoys speaking in hyperbole, which ends up creating confusion.
And then there's the paper trail issue.
We have a little saying in the legal field that if it's not in writing, it didn't happen.
This month, a federal judge ordered DOGE to release internal records to show its operating procedures and if they're going through the proper channels.
Every check that's made, every cut that's made, every decision that's made must be followed with a paper trail all the way back to the president.
So where might all of this leave DOJ? Where do you think the courts are leaning in this, or is it hard to tell?
I think it's too soon to tell what any potential district court forum selection might determine. But I think ultimately, if and when this gets up to the U.S. Supreme Court, I think DOJ itself is fine. It'll be more of an independent case-by-case basis.
Those cases could lead to constitutional fights over the appointments clause, the vesting clause, privacy matters, and separation of powers. DOJ's current reach crosses into a large number of constitutional areas, and it very well could all lead to the United States Supreme Court for the final say. David Brody, CBN News, Washington.
Coming up, see how CBN's Helping the Homefront is honoring military service members. You're watching CBN NewsWatch. Stay with us. CBN's Helping the Homefront celebrated spring with an 8K race to honor military service members. Nearly 100 runners competed in Saturday's race. Helping the Homefront partners with churches, ministries, and chaplains across the country to bless the lives of military families facing financial challenges. All proceeds for Helping the Homefront's 8K race will directly benefit active duty families. Time now for your Monday motivation, and today I leave you with this final thought as we begin another week together. Fix your focus on God and run your race. It doesn't matter who's ahead of you or who is behind you. What matters is the one living inside you, and he's calling you to fix your focus on him. Comparison and pacing yourself against someone else are killers to what God wants to do within and through you. Well, that will do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. You can always find more of our news programs on the CBN News Channel. You can find them there at any time, as well as online. The address is cbnnews.com. Take a moment and let us know what you think of the stories you've seen here today. You can email us, newswatch@cbn.com. You can also reach out and touch us on Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly known as Twitter. We'll see you back here same time tomorrow. Goodbye. God bless.